Many of the early Christian writers say that anger is a manifestation of our incensive power, a kind of explosive force. This force can be harnessed for good or burn out of control. Like the other emotions, it is not essentially bad, it is just disordered. In our society, it has created much conflict and broken many lives. It seems like Christ was using his explosive force when he overturned the tables of the traders outside the temple. This is an example of how the force can be used for good, to oppose evil. But it is one thing for Christ, the perfected God-man, to do this. We who are in darkness must be more careful. So how do we ensure that our explosive force stays in its proper place and does not burn out of control? Let us look at 4 ways to transform anger. Firstly, humility. If we're going to try and change the world, we must start with looking at our own failings. We must see the log in our own eye before trying to take the speck out of everyone else's. How do we dare to offer to show others the light when we ourselves have not found it? As St. Paul says, "Who are you to judge another man's servant?" This is the problem with much of the anger we see today. We shout abuse at others without first having looked into our own shortcomings. Where is the acknowledgement that we may not have found all the answers ourselves, or even that we may, in fact, be entirely wrong? Much of the traffic on social media is driven by this kind of anger. Rockets are fired in the direction of others without any attempt at calm reflection. People set themselves up as judge and jury. Reputations are destroyed. Lives are cancelled without proper examination. Without humility, we become proud, and this is what drives much anger. When we are proud, we are easily offended. We think, how dare they say that to me? We think the other person is beneath us and has no right to correct us. We become defensive and angry. We shout at the other, who responds by being equally defensive. Anger prevents a true meeting of minds. On the other hand, a person who is truly humble can never be offended. He accepts his faults willingly. He may even thank the person who corrects him. Pride makes us think that we have found the correct doctrine, while others live in willful ignorance. We assume it is for us to correct others, rather than to listen carefully and respectfully to them. We may experience the explosive force when we see cruelty or suffering. Our mistake lies in building this into an unassailable ideology, which offers to cure all ills. We become angry with those who do not accept our ideology and intolerant of their proposed solutions. The modern way is, express yourself. We are told, don't bottle it up, don't repress it, you will become ill. But the most constructive way is to express our point calmly and reasonably. Do we not listen more carefully if a point is made to us in a measured way? Venting anger on someone is not the way to peace. It is the way to more conflict. It spreads pain, not harmony. Secondly, the explosive force needs to be channeled, to be used constructively rather than destructively. Think of how fire was used to generate steam in the Industrial Revolution, grinding wheat to make bread. You are angry at homelessness? Go and help those living on the street. You are angry at the state of the environment? Go and join a group working to clear up your neighborhood. Throw your energy into practical action to help, rather than cursing those you think are causing the problem. We are all responsible for each other, in a concrete way. Neither the government nor anyone else has a magic wand. There is no substitute for kindness. Thirdly, let us try to discover God's will rather than imposing our own. Anger is often an attempt to control people or to control a situation. Shouting at people is an attempt to coerce them with a threat of force. Anger often says, "Things should not be like this, they should be like this. I need to take control and make things right." Ideologies are like this, attempts to control society so that all things are made perfect. One has an image of utopia and becomes angry when it is not realized. Yes, we should work to improve the world, but wisdom involves learning to accept that things may never be perfect. The angry attempt to enforce a particular ideology never works and ends in even more suffering. Perhaps we are too proud of our abilities as humans to organize society. Hasn't our experience taught us yet that we often make a mess of things? Instead of trying to produce perfection purely by our own efforts, we need to learn to trust in God's plan. We need to try and discern God's will rather than imposing our own. Fourthly, do not hold on to anger. We may blow up, but let it pass as quickly as possible. Let us apologize quickly and make amends. As St. Paul says, never let the sun go down on your anger. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison. Let us spit it out quickly rather than swallowing it. So, 4 ways to transform the explosive force. It is only when each of us begins to transform ourselves that we stand a chance of influencing our world for the better. If we are able to start to overcome our own darkness, then that light may shine outwards. So, let us conclude with some prayers. Lord, heal our anger. Let it not be a cause of separation between you and us. Help us not to lose our temper. If we do lose it, restore us to balance and peace quickly. Help us see that holding on to anger is like drinking poison. Help us to see your divine image in all people, even those who wrong us. Help us to pray for them and not to judge them. Help us to see our own faults and not those of our brothers. Help us to forgive others, knowing that you are always ready to forgive us. Help us to channel our anger into striving for a better world by helping others. Let us not impose our will on others, but let us seek to discern your will.